Hey guys, welcome. Let's get started on the study guide. So I have my calculator out, ready to go. And a giant sneeze for you. Here we go. All right. Let's not make a mistake. These are all PEMDAS type problems. A lot of them on the test. And we already started out spelling PEMDAS wrong. That's embarrassing. See what I mean? I said let's not start with anything wrong, and we start out. There we go. PEMDAS. I know how to spell. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division at the same time, addition, subtraction. So parentheses first, I like using arrows. 6 plus 1.2 divided by 3.6. I have to do division before I do addition. And so 3.6 divided by 6 is going to give me 0.6. So 0.6 plus 1.2 is going to leave me with 1.8. So 1.8 for that problem. All right, next. 6 minus 14 is going to give me negative 8. These bars around it are absolute value bars, which means they're going to, I'm going to zoom in one. That means that they're going to go ahead and turn this into a positive 8. 2.5 times 7 is 17.5. And one's positive, one's negative, so it's going to stay negative, and then subtract. And again, we can do a lot of this in our calculator, but notice I'm showing each step, and the reason why is because you need to do it on the final. Okay, again, a lot of decimals here, but you have a calculator. There's no fear, for a calculator is here. Subtract these parentheses first. Obviously, we're going to do negative 18.5. Multiplied by 4 plus 3.6. Multiplication is going to come first here. So we're going to go ahead and multiply by 4 and get negative 74 plus 3.6. And we're going to get negative 70.4. Number 4, we're going to evaluate the top first and then evaluate the bottom. Parentheses in here is going to be 9 minus 2 is going to be 7 times 4, which is 28. On the bottom, 7 times 8, which is 56. And I'm going to show you, I showed it in class, I'm going to show you again here. To do this, we can do 2, 8. And then if you look at this button right here, it's A with the little BC. You click that, and then 56. That will actually reduce your fraction on the calculator. Which is pretty cool. This one was a little easy, but we can get our reduced fraction of 1/2 and our final answer. If you want to find the fraction or the decimal equivalency, you can just divide, and so we get 1.5. All right, number 5. 5 squared is 25 plus 18 divided by 3. You're going to do that first. That's going to become 6 minus 4 minus 9 is a negative 5. So I kind of did my exponents and my division. No subtraction or adding has been done yet. Okay, so it's very important we do that division first. Negative and negative makes a positive, so I basically get 25 plus 6 plus 5. We end up with 36 as our final value. Number 6, name that property. Notice the grouping has changed. X is with 2, and over here X is with 6. If it's a grouping problem, it's associative property, not to be confused with commutative property, where order does change. Okay, so make sure we do that correctly. And then we also have another one here. This property is going to be order changing. Notice it goes from 5 to x and then x to 5, so that's order changing, so that's commutative property. Okay, commutative property. And number 8, the illustration here, this would be distributive property. And those are our 3 properties. So again, this one has to do with order. This one has to do with grouping. That's how you might remember. Okay. Next one we're going to plug in. Negative 20 minus 4. Whenever you substitute in, use parentheses. That's a negative 3. parentheses and a number next to it implies multiplication, so we're going to multiply those together first. 4 times 3 is 12. Two negatives make a positive, and negative 20 plus a positive 12 is going to give us a negative 8. Okay, and again, we're going to plug in 22 minus 7, all divided by 3. Going to evaluate the top first. 22 minus 7, which is 15, divided by 3, which is going to be 5. All right, 10x squared. So we're going to get 10 times negative 2 squared minus 8 all over 11. Now, negative 2 squared is the same thing as negative 2 times negative 2. It's multiplying that base number to itself the number of times the exponent is. So that's going to become 4. So this becomes 10 times 4 minus 8 over 11. That's going to become 40 minus 8 over 11 and 32 over 11. And what we can see here is 32 over 11 will not reduce for us, so we can leave it as that. Or if we want, we can find the decimal, which would be 2.90909. It looks like actually repeating. Okay. Number 12. Evaluate the expression here. X is 10 squared, y is negative 1/2 squared, and then 4 times 10 minus 10. Okay, evaluate the top and bottom, and then we'll try and reduce if we can. 10 squared is 100 times, now negative times a negative is a positive, and 1/2 times a 1/2 is going to be 1/4, because 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 on the bottom is 4. That's going to become 40 minus 10. That's going to be 25 over, that's 30, and that's going to reduce to 5 over 6. All right, 12 done, and more than 12 to go. Write a word phrase for the algebraic expression, a number cubed minus 7. So a number means any variable cubed minus 7. Okay, minus stands for subtraction, cubed is an exponent. Write a word phrase for the algebraic 4 less than twice a number. Whenever you see 4 less than, you're going to put the 4 actually in the back. Okay? So 4 is going to go in the back with the subtraction, and the front number is going to be here. Twice a number, we could do 2 times n. Doesn't matter the variable that we use. Number 15, 2 more than. Now again, whenever you see the then, the 2 actually can go in the back. Then 5 times a number. So 5 times a number, let's use q, why not, equals 100. Is equals, okay? So these two, what is implied by is an equal sign. So 5q plus 2 equals 100. I kind of had an awkward space there because I wasn't sure if there's anything else going. All right, combine like terms. I'm going to first get 3x and negative 8x squared together. I'm going to get x cubed and 3x cubed, and last but not least, I'll get these two y values together. Okay, we'll do the highest term first. Now there's technically a 1 right there, so that's going to be 3 plus 1. That's going to be 4x to the third. Okay, I look at the sign right in front of it, so it's a negative 8 and a positive 3. It's going to give me a negative 5x squared. You're just adding or subtracting the coefficients. Negative 10, positive 5 is going to be a negative 5y squared. All right, simplifying by combining like terms. Okay, before I start, I need to distribute. So that's going to be 8x plus 40 plus 3x minus 10 plus 10x. And we're going to combine these x values together, and we're going to combine these constants together. So that's 8, 3, and 10. That's going to give us, I believe, 21x. And then we're going to get 40 negative 10 is going to be 30. Again, we are just simplifying. We're not solving. Big difference in the words. Solving means there's an equal sign normally. Simplifying means it could just be an expression. Express yourself. All right, moving up. Now we get into equations, and we're solving for x. So we want to get x alone. So we're going to use inverse operations. So whatever I do to one side, I do it to the other. And then we can't leave it as negative x, so we're going to go ahead and divide by -1 on both sides. So x is going to become positive, the 9 is going to become negative. And we're going to do the same thing here. Solve for x by getting rid of anything, adding or subtracting. We used to call this SAD MEP, because you do the order of operation reverse. Get rid of thing, adding or subtracting. So we're getting rid of the 19. And so that gives us 54 equals 3x, and then we divide by the 3. So usually we do division before, but when we're undoing it, we do division later in the game. All right, so before we can solve this, we have to actually distribute, and then we can move things. So this is going to be 8x minus 36 equals 60x minus 36. Go figure. When I add 36 to both sides, we're actually going to go ahead and get those to cancel. And then we're going to go ahead and get 8x equals 60x, subtract 8x, and we're going to get 52x equals 0, divide by 52, and x is going to equal 0. Is that okay that x equals 0? Yes, there's no problem whatsoever with x equals 0. All right, 21. We have a fraction here. Now, if I distribute this, 4 is not going to play, 3/4 is not going to play nicely. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which means the 4's are going to cancel, the 3's are going to cancel. So I'm just left with 2x plus 5. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So the 4 goes on top, the 3 goes on bottom. I just cut right through that paper. And now we can cross cancel. Negative 4 and 1 don't do anything, but 6 and 3 will. This becomes 1 and that becomes 2. So we get -8 over here. Believe it or not. Subtract the 5 from both sides, and we're going to get 2x equals -13. Divide by 2, and x is going to equal a -6.5. 22 is our first problem where we're going to do what's called case 1, case 2. This is an absolute value equation, and what we do is we get the absolute value part alone. So I need this guy alone, which it is. So I go straight into case 1, case 2. Case 1, you write it exactly how it looks. Case 2, we do the same thing except for it becomes a negative on the outside. So the key difference here is this is the same, that changes. Okay? And so here we add 1 and x equals 7. Here we add 1 and x equals -5. Okay? So I plug either one of these values in here, I'm going to get a +6. All right, now this one gets a little bit trickier because this is not alone. So to find it, I need to divide everything by 2 first. So then I get x plus 8 equals 10. And these are an absolute value still. And now I can do case 1 and case 2. Case 1, write it the exact same. Case 2, we change that 10 to be negative. So subtract 8 from both sides, x equals 2. Subtract 8 from both sides, now we're subtracting 8 from a -10, we get -18. Okay, solve the given formula for the specified variable. Volume equals length, width times height. Solve for W. So if I want W, I need to get rid of everything else. So the L and the H gots to go. They're multiplying, so I have to divide them. I can do it at the same time. 1, 2, you're gone. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So that means W is going to equal V times L and W in the bottom, the dividing. Solve for the specified variable. Again, I'm solving here for H. I got to get rid of the R and the 3. So to get rid of the R, I just subtract R from both sides. That's going to be A minus R equals 3H. then divide by 3. So a minus r divided by 3 is going to equal h. Okay, here comes our first inequality. And this inequality we solve as per usual. The only difference is I got to be careful of negatives occasionally. So I'll tell you what I mean in a second. First, distribute. We get 2x minus 8. Okay. Now, x is bigger over here, so I'm going to move x over here. And that's going to become 3. I've gone through more lead in this video than I've ever gone through in my life. Okay, add the 8 over, and we're going to get 11 less than x. Now, a lot of students graph this incorrectly. Now, 11, unfortunately, is pretty far off the page, off the grid here. But that's okay. Just add it right there. And it's positive, so we're going to put it on the positive side. Closed circle because of the bar. Now, a lot of kids want to graph that way, but this says x is bigger than 11. It actually goes in the opposite direction. We can check this too. For example, if you pick a number over here, is 11 less than 4? If I picked 4? No, so don't graph towards 4, graph away from it. Always pick a checkpoint. Okay, so is 11 less than or equal to 4? No. So we're going to graph the other direction. Okay, moving along. All right, solve the inequality and graph. Okay, again, same type of deal. Negative x is the small guys, so we're going to add x over. I'm going to add the 2 at the same time, so we get negative 2 less than, and this is going to become 4x. And divide by 4, and a lot of people will get 2 here. That's not correct. Okay? This is going to be 2 over 4. That's actually going to be 1/2. Again, another difficult one to graph. I'm at negative 1/2. It's going to be an open circle between 1 and 0. And again, try a test point. Let's try 8. Is negative 1/2 bigger than 8? Nope. Is negative 1/2 bigger than negative 8? Yes, so we're going to graph towards negative 8. Okay, write the inequality that best describes this. This is an and problem. We've talked about and problems before. It's at negative 5, and it goes up to 3. And so we usually use x to describe this. And we want to say that x is greater than or equal to negative 5. But x is less than 3. Again, no bar on this one because we have an open circle here. This one we have a bar because it's a closed circle. Right, inequality describes the situation. Miss Imperial is driving less than 65 miles an hour. Okay, so we can use a variable for Miss Imperial. We'll use, I guess, the variable d. I guess, I don't know, it makes sense, I suppose. Less than means we're going to put her at the end. Or sorry, not the end. We're going to use the less than symbol. So d is less than 65 miles an hour. Not equal to, just less than. You must be at least. At least means I can be that or bigger, right? 4 feet to ride the roller coaster. Okay? So let's do h for height, and you need to be greater than or equal to 4. All right? So here we have a compound inequality. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other side, that's still the same case here. Subtract 4, but whatever I do to one side, I have to do to now 2 sides, because there's 2 sides to my inequality. This becomes negative 9 less than 3x, and that's going to become negative 23. I'm sorry, 19 is a positive number. That's 15. I just made a mistake there, and I thought about it for a second. Divide everything by 3, and negative 3 is less than x, which is less than 5. And to graph it makes it really easy when you have it like this. Negative 3, open circle, 5, right here, open circle, and graph in between. This is an and problem. When they're combined like that, we have and problems. This next one's an or problem, so we're going to go outward. So we just solve this as two separate problems. Negative 8, 3x is greater than, this is going to become 9, divide by 3, and we get 3. Over here we're going to subtract 5, 2x is less than or equal to 2, x is less than or equal to 1. So we have our two statements here. So x is greater than 3, so we're going to go to 3, open circle, and I'm going to go greater. And 1 is right here, closed circle, and it is less than. They always go away from each other, or one or the other. You can't have both, so that means they can't overlap. You can have your cake or cookie, not both. Okay, solve the inequality in graph. Here we're going to go ahead and add 15 to all sides. And that's going to become 41, I believe. Is that right? Let me double check that. 26 plus 15. Yeah, 41. For it not to be that, but there we go. And that's going to become 11. Divide by negative 3. We have an issue here. Whenever you divide by a negative, it's going to flip the inequalities around. So this is going to be negative 11 over 3, which doesn't go into it, but it flips the sign this way. And this is going to become a flip sign as well. And does 41 over 3, does that reduce anything? No, it doesn't. 41 over negative 3. Now, I'm going to just evaluate these as fractions for now. So this is 3.6. It'll just be easier to graph. And this is going to be 13.6. So I don't know why they give us problems sometimes. They're a little too big. A little too big for us on this graph. 13.6. Okay, so 13.6 we'll just say is right here. 13.6, conveniently closed circle. Negative 3.6. That's probably right about there. Closed circle. It's still an and. X is bigger than this, but it's smaller than that. So actually this and problem became an or problem. So x is less than that, and x is greater than that. Okay, because of that negative, when we divide it, flip the signs and kind of flip the way we view the problem. X is now greater than negative 36, but it's less than 3.6, so it becomes 4. All right, absolute value inequalities. X plus 3, or x plus 2, we need to get by itself, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. And we're going to get 13. Now that I have my absolute value, I want to ask myself, is this what kind of question? Is it greater or less than? And it's a greater question, so it's going to be great or, as I like to call it, which means this is going to turn into an or problem. And the way we do it, it's kind of like case 1, case 2. We get x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 13, or x plus 2 is less than or equal to a negative 13. We switch the sign of the 13 to a negative, and we flip the inequality. Subtract 2 from both sides. X is going to be greater than or equal to 11. Subtract 2. X is less than or equal to negative 15. And so those are our answers. The negative 15 is going to be way over here somewhere, and it's going to be enclosed. And 11's over here, and that's going to be enclosed, and it's or, so we're going out in either direction. Okay, solve the inequality in graph. We're going to subtract 7, and 3 plus x is going to be less than 3. Okay, and let's see here. It is a less than problem. So that is super cool that we can go ahead and turn this into an and problem. Basically, for an and problem, we just do x plus, or sorry, 3 plus x. The 3's over here, but I'm going to put another one over here with a negative 3. So it turns into an and problem instantly. We subtract 3 from both sides. This becomes -6 and 0. So I go from 0 open circle, -6 open circle, and we're looking at the inside. Solve the proportion. We're going to go ahead and cross multiply. So we get x multiplied by 8 and 40 multiplied by 3. That becomes 8x equals 40 times 3, 120. Divide by 8. And we get x equals 15. All right, and this will be the last one of this part. If Ryan makes $120 after working 10 hours, write a proportion to determine how much Ryan will make after he works 18 hours. Okay, so we got a couple different things. We got money and we got time. Okay, so I make $120 per 10 hours. I want to see how much do I make after 18 hours. Okay, so we have our proportion, cross multiply. And we're going to get, the lights are off. Woo! Okay, we're going night mode, I guess, on this last problem. 2160 equals 10x, divide by 10, divide by 10, and we're going to get x equals 216. And that seems to make sense. 120 times 2 would be 240. I'm not working double the amount of time, so it's close, but it's not quite. Okay? All right, catch me back for part 2.